Hello, and welcome to the Argyle SMB Finance Leadership Forum, Innovative Finance Strategies for Long-Term Success. My name is Nick with Argyle, and it's great to have everyone joining us today. A couple of notes before I turn things over to our esteemed speaker. First, a quick reminder to stop by our sponsors' virtual booths at any time during today's event and for the following week. Our partners are committed to providing you with valuable content and a great overall experience. At any time during today's event, you can visit their virtual booths from the main agenda page, which include complimentary materials, information, and meet and greet opportunities. To ask questions throughout the session, simply type into the Q&A chat, and we will address your questions at the end of the session. Also, be sure to subscribe to Argyle on YouTube for exclusive access to all our past events. Now, without further delay, I would like to introduce our speaker, Jeanette Wade, Chief Financial Officer, Massachusetts League of Community Health Centers. We're super excited to have Jeanette with us for a keynote presentation titled Finance Talent 101, Building and Retaining a Future-Ready Team. Welcome, Jeanette. Over to you.
Thank you, Nick, and good afternoon, everyone. I am Jeanette Wade. I'm glad to be here with you today to talk about building and retaining a future-ready team. It is all about leadership, mine and yours. It's all about us. So how long have you been leading? If any of you would like to put your years of tenure in leadership roles in the comments at the end, we'll go over the range of leadership commitment. And that's what it really is. It's a commitment about what you bring to the table. Your leadership, your engagement inspires others, and it drives performance. Engaged leaders are actively involved in their team's work, showing genuine interest in their well-being and development. Engaged leaders prioritize building strong relationships with team members, fostering a sense of belonging to the organization and psychological safety. Engaged leaders empower their teams by providing opportunities for growth, recognizing achievements, and encouraging open communication. Engaged leaders inspire their teams to perform at their best by creating a positive, high energy, and supportive work environment. And engaging leaders align with the team's efforts within the organization's goals and values, fostering a sense of shared purpose. I'll talk a little bit more about mission alignment overall with your team. Also really important, showing up from a leadership perspective, is honesty. Honesty fosters trust, and trust also translates to performance. So honest leaders are transparent in their communication, sharing information openly and honestly, even when it's difficult. And that's a challenge. But I think at the end of the day, as a leader, people respect understanding and knowing where they stand, even if it's difficult communications. Honest leaders demonstrate integrity in their actions, making decisions that are ethical and aligned with their values. Accountability. Honest leaders hold themselves accountable, and they hold others accountable for their actions, fostering a culture of responsibility. By being honest and transparent, leaders build trust with their teams, creating a foundation for strong relationships and open communication. So I'll just share a 2-minute aside here about my current organization, which I joined in March. They were quite delayed on preparing their financial statements. The team had a lot of turnover. There has been significant turnover since. And we have been having engaged conversations every day. We have a daily stand-up. I am at the meetings. I am part of the process. And I'm being honest about where the organization, not from a financial performance perspective, but a performance of the financial team and being able to deliver timely and accurate information to the organization. And while that might have been painful at first, It has built a much, much stronger team, and everybody comes to the table every day. I'm hearing messages about how we're progressing and also messages about what we still need to get done. And so for me, it's really critical to show up engaged and with honesty so everyone knows where they stand. So why does leadership matter? It drives increased employee engagement. Employees feel valued, motivated, and invested in their work when they experience engaged and honest leadership. Nobody wants that red smiley face on the left there. We'd all prefer to have a team that is engaged and happy and ready to drive performance for your organization and under your leadership. It improves morale and productivity. A positive and supportive work environment fostered by engaged and honest leaders leads to higher morale and increased productivity. Stronger relationships. Engaged and honest leadership builds stronger relationships between leaders and team members, creating a more collaborative and supportive work environment. And enhanced organizational performance comes from strong leadership. When employees are engaged and motivated, the organization as a whole benefits from increased efficiency, innovation, and overall success. So getting connected to mission, I mentioned that a couple of minutes ago, and the commitment to the organization. So organizational commitment is driven by a shared understanding and belief in the organization's mission and values, and characterized by a desire to remain within that organization and contribute to its success. Strong commitment leads to increased productivity, reduced turnover, and a more positive work environment. So mission statement. Most organizations have mission statements. It's a concise declaration of the organization's purpose, goals, and how it intends to achieve them. Align with mission. Employees who understand and believe in the mission are more likely to be committed. And then impact on commitment. A well-defined and communicated mission can foster a sense of purpose and belonging, driving commitment. And so I put a sample here of the mission statement that our finance team developed in support of the organization. So the finance department provides accurate, timely, and transparent financial information to support sustainability and informed decision-making. We are committed to operating efficiently with clear communication and a continuous drive for improvement. Through collaboration and feedback, we aim to strengthen our processes and promote mutual understanding and respect for the diverse roles within the organization. With a shared sense of purpose, we support the innovative efforts of our organization. This mission statement was developed in conjunction with input from all team members across the finance division. And it was refined and then presented to the CEO in a lunch and then shared with executive leaders and the senior team. Really enhanced morale and pride of work. So what is commitment anyways? There's three main kinds of commitment: effective commitment, continuance commitment, and normative commitment in the workplace. So effective commitment is really what you're going for. Employees are staying with the organization because they want to, due to positive feelings and identification with the organization. Continuance commitment is when employees stay because they feel they have to, due to factors like job security, benefits, or the cost of leaving. And normative commitment is employees stay because they feel obligated due to a sense of duty or loyalty. So how do you build commitment? Through clear communication. I mean, that's a common theme throughout here, is communication and leadership. Regularly communicate the mission and vision to all employees. Employee involvement. Encourage participation in decision-making and problem-solving. A positive work environment. Foster a supportive and inclusive culture, leveraging all the voices in your organization. I'm a firm believer in people can lead from anywhere, and driving a culture where innovation is culled cross-functionally from across all levels within the organization. Professional development provide opportunities for growth and learning. Rewards and recognition. I know that I have to remind myself to slow down and celebrate successes. It's really important to acknowledge and appreciate employees' contributions. And then leaders should model commitment and actively promote the organization's values. Is there commitment? If not, it can cost you. So some ways to get a pulse check on commitment is doing surveys to regularly assess employees' attitudes and their perceptions about through feedback mechanisms, providing channels for employees to voice their opinions and concerns. And then through performance metrics, there's key indicators like productivity, absenteeism, and turnover. And the Huffington Post I just wanted to share here had a really good calculation for the cost of turnover. There is a real and true cost to hire, onboard, develop, and the time that is missed when you lose an employee. Cost of turnover is real. Commitment is critical. So what is the importance? Increased productivity and performance. Committed employees are more likely to be engaged and motivated. Reduced turnover and absenteeism. Commitment fosters loyalty that we talked about a minute ago and reduces the likelihood of employees leaving. And I think here it's the combination of loyalty to an organization and people wanting to stay because there's good benefits and training and a reward system, and also because they're engaged with the energy of what the organization is producing from a product or from mission-based work. It's a combination of all three that are really critical. Improved innovation and creativity. When a team is highly committed and has high energy, likely to contribute new ideas and solutions. Here I will share at one of my previous organizations, we created on the internal communication tool, the intranet for the organization, a process to cull innovation across the organization. People had the opportunity, and it actually had a dual effect. It achieved expense reduction, it achieved revenue enhancement, and it also identified risk for the organization. And so we created a dropdown where anyone across the whole organization could contribute ideas in those three categories. We had a competition. We had a strategic team that reviewed all of the ideas coming in, a group of mid-level leaders. From that, we were able to leverage about $1.5 million in quick hit opportunities for the organization. And we were also able to set up 12 longer term projects that just enhanced the organization overall. The innovation and creativity that came from everyone across the organization was phenomenal. And not only that, it created conversation and healthy competition in the organization, a lot of really positive energy. So stronger organizational culture. Commitment helps build a positive and cohesive work environment, and it improves the bottom line. Also, it allows you to retain institutional knowledge. So, we did the cost of turnover, and I will tell you in my current engagement, the loss of institutional knowledge due to turnover that occurred is significant. And so rebuilding, cross-training, eliminating single points of failure, those things take time and energy from the team when they could be working on innovation and creativity. So garnering commitment, instilling high energy, allowing people to innovate and be creative improves the bottom line, and it helps people stay. It retains your team, and it retains critical institutional knowledge. So communication and accountability, they are linked. So clarifies expectations and responsibilities. Effective communication ensures that individuals understand their roles, their tasks, and the expected outcomes, reducing confusion and ambiguity that can hinder accountability. Communication and accountability facilitates feedback and course correction. So feedback, I'm a huge believer in timely and direct feedback. So regular and constructive feedback loops enable everyone in the conversation to assess their performance, identify areas for improvement, and adjust their actions to meet expectations. Communication and accountability builds trust and transparency. Open and honest communication, including acknowledging mistakes and having an environment where it is okay to make a mistake and be honest and direct about it, mitigates a lot of wasted time. So taking responsibility for your actions, that's team members, and it fosters a culture where individuals feel safe, to share information and contribute ideas. And it empowers and engages individuals. When individuals feel informed and empowered through open communication, they're more likely to take ownership of their work and actively participate in achieving goals. So enhancing communication and accountability, setting clear and measurable goals, defining expectations and responsibility ensures everyone understands what needs to be achieved. As I mentioned a few minutes ago, our organization was quite behind in the financials when I joined them early spring. And we quickly set up a closing calendar, defining everybody's roles within the closing calendar, establishing handoffs, and then we have a daily stand-up to meet and discuss it so that everybody knows what needs to be achieved and why we need to achieve it. Highly effective if you're really clear and the goals are measurable. Establishing open and transparent communication channels will enhance accountability. So encouraging open dialogue, providing regular feedback, and utilizing communication tools effectively fosters a culture of transparency and trust. Leading by example. Leaders who demonstrate accountability and open communication inspire their teams to do the same. Providing training and resources, investing in professional development, and ensuring employees have the necessary tools and skills empowers them to meet their responsibilities. Early on, we took a survey. I've done this in most of my roles, whether people have the tools and the training that they need to be successful in their role. Sometimes we even do it informally with a finger shoot. 10 is I have all the tools I need, and 1 is I really need some tools and training. That enhances accountability. People are able to identify where they need support, and it allows you to provide. And then promoting a growth mindset, encouraging a culture where learning from mistakes and seeking continuous improvement is valued. Team. It's about you and your team. You can support a high energy team and celebrate their successes. Strengthening and maintaining critical processes while staying forward focused. And sometimes that's a trick because in finance, you're providing control, you're providing data for data-formed decision making, and organizations, particularly in the economic climate over the past few years, are being stretched to stay forward focused, have strategic plans that build in new revenue opportunities or new opportunities in a mission-based work to apply for new grants and stay forward focused. So I think that the pressure on the finance team is different than it used to be. We used to be that we're updated quarterly or semi-annually, or sometimes even annually. There were 3 and 5 year strategic plans. And now I see a lot of rolling strategic planning so that going forward, The focus is always on the future, but that can be updated quickly and in real time. And I also see finance teams where the drive for real-time forecasting on a monthly basis has become much more prevalent. Evaluate opportunity with an eye towards organizational bandwidth. When you think about your team and you're thinking about opportunity within the organization, being clear about your team's bandwidth and the organization's bandwidth to take on new opportunities is really important. Inspiring the team with compelling problems to solve. As a leader, you have access and visibility into some of the more strategic things that your organization may be working on. And the more you can engage your team in complex and compelling problem solving, the more high energy they will be. Soliciting innovation from the organization. We talked about that a few minutes ago, but really being a partner with operations. And I've seen this shift as well over the past 5 years from many finance teams being highly soloed or siloed rather in their roles around data and information and board reporting and compliance and enterprise risk. And more so, finance teams are partnering and collaborating with their operational leaders to be involved with innovation. Communicate. That is the theme today around your leadership, why your teams stay, how you can help create an environment in your teams so that they want to stay, they're excited to stay, they're working on interesting work, and they trust and are engaged with you. And then lastly, take care of yourself to lead. If you're at the front line and you're at the head of this arrow, it is critical that you take the time to pause, refresh, make sure you have what you need from the organization so that you can lead your team in the same way. I appreciate your time. Nick, I wanted to check in with you. Is there a range of leadership years that have been entered in? And are there any audience questions that I might take?
Yes, sure. Okay, someone said 40 years.
Fantastic.
Right? Yeah, and there's if I'm reading this correctly, there's a range between I guess 10 and 40. Yeah. Not too many that are differing from that. You know what I mean? Someone
Great.
said
So a
20.
lot of tenure.
Someone else
That's
just
great.
said 20. So they're coming in. Great. And yes, there are some audience questions.
Great.
And let's see. Let me pick one. Okay, here we go. What are some ways finance teams can stay innovative and forward thinking instead of just reactive to numbers?
My best advice for staying forward thinking is to incorporate a forecast process that's on a monthly basis and create a strong collaboration with the operations team. Because if you're looking at the numbers and you're trying to create a forecast for the future in conjunction with your operational leaders, your conversation is more than about the numbers. Your conversation is about the pulse of the business is headed. So we have routinized, we're actually kicking off this week, routinized monthly meetings with our operational leaders to not only review their budget to actuals, but to talk about forecasts. The entire goal of that conversation is to stimulate the financial team into having proactive conversations so that they can be connected to the pulse of the business. Thank you for the question.
Sure. Great. Here's another one. How can finance leaders future proof their talent strategies against evolving job expectations?
So we review job descriptions on a pretty regular basis, on a quarterly basis, because the demands of the business are changing so quickly. And of course, not that the nuts and bolts of the job description are going to change because of the deliverables, but we try to leverage that as a tool to enhance and future-proof, using your terminology there, the evolving needs of the business. Thank you for the question.
Great. And just an update, checking the session chat here. About three more people said 20 years, so that may be the winner. But in any case, here's another question. What role will technology and AI play in shaping the skills needed for finance professionals in the next 5 to 10 years?
Sure. I think AI is going to become a critical tool for finance professionals. And so when we did our last pulse check on and technology support needed, it was almost unanimous across the finance team that they wanted to understand how they could work more effectively leveraging AI. So I think that the trick is going to be to have a good evaluation partner to understand what AI solutions might be best for your finance team, but engaging your team members in the conversation, because people are hearing different parts about how AI can be effective in the finance world. And so I think bringing those conversations together so that you have a holistic view as a leader of what might benefit your team, and then engaging them in a, if you do an RFP process to vet out potential vendors to partner with, would be really important.
Great. And I think we have time for one more question.
Great.
Here it
Thank
is.
you.
Finance teams are being asked to do more with less. Where do you see the biggest skill gaps showing up today?
Where do I see the biggest skill showing up today? I would say where I'm seeing the biggest skill gap show up on my end is young talent coming out of school that is interested in being involved in the business world, but is not necessarily prepared because of the COVID work environment that we had for several years as people were coming out of school. So I see many young teams who are being asked to come into offices, integrate in a work environment. So I'm actually seeing like business professional skill gaps as an opportunity to help people integrate with one another and learn how to work together. Is not a skill that necessarily was developed right away for young talent coming out of school. So I see that as an opportunity. Thank you for the question.
Yeah, and interesting. I'm going to ask a follow up, I guess. How do you think that you talked about COVID and the people that were basically in college or coming out of college at that time? How do you think that's going to change things overall, or do you see them being pretty adaptable?
I think it's adaptable. I think it's incumbent upon leadership with the tenure that, the folks have contributed here from 10 to 20 to 40 years, to help cultivate that, to help cultivate working in a business environment, because they're coming out skilled with competencies in, finance or FP&A or accounting or treasury or, many of the key functions. But it is working in a business environment. And I think it's through mentoring. I really think it's through mentoring.
Excellent. Well, thank you again, Jeanette, for such an incredible keynote. And I want to thank everyone else for joining us today. This session, along with all of today's content, will be available on demand following the event. This officially concludes the Argyle SMB Finance Leadership Forum, Innovative Finance Strategies for Long-Term Success. Thank you again for joining us today and engaging in our content. We look forward to seeing you at our next Argyle Digital Finance event soon, which will be our Financial Controller Leadership Forum, Redefining Traditional Finance, on September 4th, 2025. Have a great rest of your day.